Now that we've established a little bit of a baseline for the model, we've got the model fairly well put in, and it's important to know right now is you want to make sure you have the floor of the model put in. So we're going to start getting the model into the site plan now. To do that, we're going to actually take advantage of Sketchup's geolocation feature. So if you don't have it open yet, you're going to want to go up to View and to Toolbars, and we are going to go down to the Location tab, and we'll turn Location on. The other thing we're going to turn on right now is something called the Sandbox. So our geolocation came down, and it's right here. I'll undock it so you can see the buttons a little bit clearer. And then we've got our sandbox, which is going to help us with some site information. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to pull the site into the model. So that way when we have sun and shadows and that kind of thing, we can figure out exactly where that is in the country. So you see it brings us into a map of the Detroit area to start with, basically centering us on our location. We need to type in the Stallhouse's actual location. So I went over to Google and typed in the Stallhouse address, and it gave me this. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to copy it, Control-C, and then I'm going to go back into my Sketchup version. Please notice, too, that I do have a brand new window open, that the Stallhouse is not located in this one. This is a brand new, empty Sketchup model. So I'm going to paste in Control-V the location of the model and click Search. And fortunately, it actually brings up the Stallhouse. You can see it right there with the pool on the side in its happy little hill on LA. Next thing we're going to do is we need to select a region. We need to tell SketchUp what to grab. This is a little bit arbitrary. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of shrink this down just a hair. And I'm going to keep the building maybe up and to the right a little bit. I know that right here we have a really kind of a big hill. If we take a look at photos, and these are in the PowerPoint, or you can find them online, you can see we've got a fairly steep drop-off right in front. And then the rest of the hill that we're sitting on is fairly flat. We're going to have to modify our model just a little bit, but here's the hill that we've got coming in, and then we're fairly flat up here on the top. So I'm going to move the buttons around just a little bit and grab a region, keeping the Stallhouse just up and to the right a little bit, and I'm going to click Grab. The nice thing about what happens is now you see it take just a second, but it brought in that image from what is basically Google Earth, truthfully. That's where it's kind of going to get this from. The interface used to be a little different. The other thing you can see is if we look at our layers dialog box, you can see that the location snapshot is active. There's also something called location terrain, and this is kind of a neat thing. I'm going to turn the location snapshot off, and I'm going to turn the location terrain on. Now if we orbit around, you can start to see that we actually have a three-dimensional model that represents what the stall site looks like. Now for the sake of this model, to kind of simplify it a little bit, we're going to create our own mesh using this mesh, and we're going to flatten it out just a little bit at the top. So right now that I've got the geolocation imported in and I have the terrain, I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to do a Save As. And you want to basically navigate to where you're keeping your information. And I'm going to put the stall site right into that model and click Save.